Welcome back to the exercises for Chapter 17. Where we left off was trying to make a forecast model for our crack spread. I think that's column E. Yep. So, one thing we have to do first is to build our x variables down. So I'm going to bring this lag of the crack spread down, the second lag of the crack spread down, and I'm going to bring these first lags of the price differences down as well. Okay, so now we have everything we need to use the regression coefficients in combination with the x variables to get a point forecast for this cell. So it's going to be equal to the intercept plus the first variable coefficient times, I'm trying to reference cell F1983. There, I got it. Just the one that's right under there. Plus the next coefficient times the next variable. And I know, okay, I was trying to get 1983 and it was covered up, so I accidentally got 1984. I'll just correct that way. Plus next coefficient times column H. Same thing happened again. Plus next coefficient times column I plus final coefficient times column J. Correct it to 1983. Okay. So we have a forecast for the crack spread, and it's based on the two previous crack spreads. And the first difference of logged prices here. All right, guys, you probably remember in the first parts of the video we had dragged down 5 new prices, 5 new dates, and we were going to make a 5-step ahead forecast. I wasn't thinking ahead very well because that would require us to make forecasts of the price changes as we drag down this column. These references are going to go down, and if we don't have a way to model what our expectations about these cells should be, then we're not going to be able to continue with the forecast. So it's going to be most simple to just stop this assignment at a 1-step ahead forecast. So you can go ahead and delete those dates that you might have done, and that's all the farther down that we're going to go. Okay, so we've got our forecast, but I do want us to construct a confidence interval around it. So I'm going to call this lower 95% confidence interval and upper 95% confidence interval. And I'm going to make those word wrap so we can read them. So to calculate those confidence intervals, it's going to be helpful for us to go back to the exercises from Chapter 16 because we already did this once and we had the formula there. So in Chapter 16, we said if we want to do a 95% confidence interval, we'll do equals the forecast plus T inverse of 0.025, comma, times the degrees of freedom that comes from the regression output, times the standard error of the regression. And of course, again, that's going to find the 2.5 percentile of t distribution with the standard error equal to the standard error of the regression, and that t distribution is centered around our forecast value. That's exactly what should be the lower bound of the 95% confidence interval. So let's see if we can remember that function t dot inverse and go back to our Excel spreadsheet. So equals the forecast plus t dot inverse of 0.025, comma, degrees of freedom. Let's going to be degrees of freedom of the residual. Times the standard error of the regression, which is here. Okay, so the lower confidence interval is 17.85. And we should be able to drag this over and then modify the formula. So when I dragged it over, the references are messed up. I basically need to move all of these to the left by 1. So I'm going to put this back on the forecast, put this back on the standard error of the regression, put this back on the residual, and make this a minus. And we get the upper 95% confidence interval. Notice that it should be that the forecast is directly in the middle of this confidence interval. So what I want to do now is go ahead and plot all of this stuff. So first I'm going to select columns A and columns E, and I hold down the control key to get the column E. Except I kind of want to do it by hand because I want to plot separately the forecast. Excuse me, Control Shift. Okay, and holding down the Control key and dragging the rest of the dates. That allows me to select both at the same time. Okay, now I'm going to come up here to Insert, Charts, and that looks familiar, as it should. We plotted the same thing in our textbook. Okay, now I'm going to add to this chart the forecast and the confidence interval. So with the chart selected, I'm going to right-click, select data, add. Series name is the forecast. Series X value is going to be a date. Series Y value is going to be the forecast. And that's it. Okay. Now I'm going to add the lower confidence interval. X value is going to be the same date of the forecast. Y value is the value of the confidence interval. Good. And add one more, the upper confidence interval. Give it that name. Give it this date. And give it that value. Okay, this should be complete. And let's add a legend here. It's definitely hard to see, so I'm going to adjust this thing. I'm going to put the legend on the bottom. It's kind of hard to tell which series you're on, and I just discovered something that I didn't know before. So if you just click somewhere that's easy to get and right-click and click Format Data Series, it will bring up this menu. And you can adjust which series you're on by clicking this drop-down menu here. And if you want to make the point of your forecast bigger, then you're going to choose the series forecast. And I made it giant, but I don't want it to be that big now. I'm here in the marker options, and I've made it red. So it's probably going to default open up to you here in the line part. You're going to need to click marker, open up marker options, and choose red or something highly visible. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Maybe not that small. I guess 4 is a happy medium. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the confidence intervals. Lower, choose the marker. Maybe we'll just choose a line. Make it colorful. Maybe we need a marker. And that fill color isn't doing us any favors either. Okay, and let's make it 4. Don't really like that. Let's just do red. Okay, and let's do the upper confidence interval. Marker, built in, fill color is red. Okay, go with that. Border color is not nice. Oh, here's that color. Okay, now at least they're all red. All right, so we've got our forecast, we've done our plots, and we're basically done with the assignment, but I want to make us think about whether we've got a forecast we could trade with or not. So we were pretty happy with these regression results. We got a lot of statistical significance here. But the truth of the matter is, if you come back over here, and take a look at our forecast versus the confidence interval. And so if we were going to try to use this to trade, we would be making our forecast on the 20th about what the price is going to be in the on the 21st. And the problem is the confidence interval we get pretty much contains a no change expectation about where the price is from now. So if we were going to try to think about forecasting this to make money trading, we would need this confidence interval to be either entirely above 1979 or entirely below 1979, so that we were confident that prices were going to go up. We could make a trade that will benefit when the spread widens, or the opposite. And even though we got a lot better statistical result with this model, we're still in the same boat of our forecast confidence interval just wasn't giving us enough confidence to know whether the price was going to go up or down. In fact, this forecast we get is pretty darn close to the crack spread that was observed the day before. Okay guys, so that is it for the exercises for chapter 17. I'll see you guys soon.